Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Italy, a place to love YouTube channel. So, from today, I'm going to start making videos about wines. So, let's talk a bit about this type of videos that I'm going to make. So, first of all, I selected a very interesting website called quattrocalici.it where you can find yourself a lot of information about wines if you're interested anyway to investigate more about type of wines. And so then I will select for each region in Italy in alphabetical order. So I will start from Abruzzo region. I will select a wine that, let's say, is in between the most famous wine of that region and my favorite wine. So sometimes they're gonna match and sometimes maybe not. It depends. In this case that we are talking about Abruzzo region, is matching. So from one side we have Montepulciano d'Abruzzo, which is one of the most famous Abruzzo wine, and then from the other side I can also say that the Montepulciano d'Abruzzo is my favorite wine from Abruzzo region. Okay, my friends, so after this introduction, if you like my channel, please put like and subscribe. That will help my channel to grow and to give you better contents in the next videos. All right, so let's start investigating about the selected wine by me this time. So we are talking about a Montepulciano d'Abruzzo Colline Teramane DOCG. Okay, so let's go on the map. A typology of the denomination Montepulciano d'Abruzzo Colline Teramane DOCG. Now, colline in Italian means hills, the hills of Teramo, because we are talking about Teramo province. I will explain you while I'm making the video about the different denominations of the Italian wines. So let's start from DOCG. DOCG wine. Okay, what does it mean, DOCG? It means denominazione di origine controllata e garantita. So, denomination of origin checked, controllata, controlled, checked, and G stays for guaranteed. So, this is the best quality wine that you can find in Italy. So basically, if you are buying a bottle of wine and you find on the top of the bottle a label with written on top DOCG, we are talking about the best quality wine. Now, the best quality not always means that a DOCG or a lower denomination offers you a lower quality wine, but let's say that if you want to experience the best quality, always try to buy or to try a DOCG wine. Okay, now let's go back 1 second to the map here. So basically we see that in red on the top right of the map, we see where Abruzzo region is. And then here we see the selected area of the Abruzzo region. So to be at the OCG, the Montepulciano has to be from certain municipalities, selected municipalities in the Teramo province. For example, here we have L'Aquila, which is another province, Chieti, which is another province, and Pescara. So, for example, a DOCG can only be made from the selected municipalities in Teramo province, but a DOC can also be, for example, for the Montepulciano grapes grown in L'Aquila or in Chieti province. Okay, let's start reading about Montepulciano d'Abruzzo DOCG wine. Montepulciano d'Abruzzo DOCG wine is one of the types of wine provided for by the Montepulciano Colline Teramane DOCG denomination, a DOCG of the region. The specification of the DOCG denomination includes specific types of wine, which are characterized by their ampelographic composition. Now, what is it? ampelographic? Let's discover now. That is, by the vines allowed for their production. Now, here, when they say vines, obviously they refer to the grapes. So, which are the grapes allowed for their production? By the wine making procedure and by the specific organoleptic characteristic of the wine. The vines included in the composition of the Montepulciano DOCG wine are now. This is very important. Has to be minimum 90% Montepulciano vines, grapes, and maximum 10% Sangiovese grapes. Then, the organoleptic characteristic of the Montepulciano d'Abruzzo include a ruby red, intense, and garnet red color. So these are the colors, the specifics of the color if you are buying a Montepulciano. The olfactory profile of the Montepulciano d'Abruzzo, the OCG wine, is characteristic, ethereal, and intense. And on the palate, it is dry, full-bodied, robust, and harmonious. Okay, so basically these are the specifics of the wine, the Montepulciano. Now let's read about the Montepulciano di OCG, the details of the wine. The name. So Montepulciano d'Abruzzo, Colline Teramane DOCG. The production area has to be various municipalities in the province of Teramo. So not all the Teramo municipalities are allowed to have the Montepulciano DOCG denomination. These are only selected municipalities. Then the grape varieties is Montepulciano. The type of denomination is DOCG. The wine color, obviously, we're talking about a red wine. The type of wine is still, so still wine, fermo. In Italian, we say fermo when it's still. And then sweetness wine, we say dry. In Italian, we say secco. So it's a secco wine. Un vino secco is a dry wine. The wine region, obviously, we're talking about Abruzzo. Then let's see some characteristics of the wine. The characteristics of the Montepulciano d'Abruzzo, the OCG wine, are also expressed through the main parameters whose minimum values are required by the regulations. For these, as for all the other typologies of Montepulciano d'Abruzzo, the OCG wines. Now we have, for example, a minimum of acidity of 4.5 grams per liter. Alcohol has to be 12.5%. I'd say we can even find 13%. So according to me, in between 12.5 and 13%, we are talking about in between a medium bodied and a full bodied. So it's not really full bodied like other type of wines, but I'd say for me it's in between medium bodied and full bodied. Then it depends which type of wine you like, obviously. So the wine composition, again, we say that it has to be a minimum of 90% of Montepulciano grapes and a maximum 10% of Sangiovese grapes. So this means that the wine can be a blend. When we generally put two type of grapes together, is a blend. If we are using, for example, 100% of Montepulciano grapes, that is not a blend. Generally, we might find, for example, blends of 70%, 20%, 10%. If it's a blend, it doesn't mean that it's a lower quality wine. So this is very important. Blends can also be extremely good as a pure wine made 100% by that grapes. Then minimum dry extract we have 25 grams per liter. So here we refer about the yeast used, the percentage of yeast, the amount of grams per liter of yeast has to be at least 25 grams per liters. Minimum refinement, we are talking about 12 months, two of which in the bottle, minimum. So has to stay at least 12 months uh, refining, and then at least two of which in the bottle. So can be 10 months in barrel and 2 months in the bottle. And then we can have the DOCG denomination from 1st of November of the harvest year. So they harvest in September, October, they make the wine, and then from the 1st of November for the next 12 months has to be aged in barrels and 2 months in a bottle. Then can be aged maybe even 15 months in a barrel and then 3 months. So, but minimum has to be 12 months, two of which in the bottle. Then additional mentions, the use of the term vigna is permitted. Now, vigna in Italian is what we call vineyard. Okay, so let's see the wine tasting, the Montepulciano d'Abruzzo, the OCG wine tasting. So the Montepulciano DOCG production specification provides for the Montepulciano typology specific organoleptic characteristic reported below. And let's see a bit what they say. So the color, let's focus on the color. As we say, has to be ruby red, intense and garnet red. The smell has to be characteristic, ethereal, and intense. So I'd say that mainly has to have an intense smell, flavor. And then the taste is dry, full bodied, robust, and harmonious. So these are uh, the titles given anyway by the taste. And then pairings, it says that the best matches are for dishes are roast or grilled meat dishes. So it can be red meat or can be white meat. They don't recommend, for example, with fish. Obviously, with fish, we generally recommend white wines, and then game dishes, which are referring, for example, to wild animals that have been hunted by hunters, like boars or wild pigs. Anyway, these type of animals. Okay, so then here we have again which type of grapes are used to make the wine, the Montepulciano, and again we are talking about Montepulciano grapes. Let's actually click 1 second here on the Montepulciano. Where do what do they say about the Montepulciano grapes? Okay, so here they are showing you one of the picture, for example, had the shape of the grape itself, because each grape has its own different color and different color and different shape. Then here it's saying a lot of information about where the Montepulciano grapes are grown. For example, Abruzzo, Marche, Lazio, Puglia. So these are the regions mainly where Montepulciano grapes are grown, but obviously to be a Montepulciano d'Abruzzo DOCG, again, can only be from Teramo. So here they're giving a lot of information about these grapes. Uh, Black is a black fruit, for example, of the grapes. The main regions, Abruzzo, Marche, Molise, the hectares, and it's also been authorized, for example, to be used in Abruzzo, Basilicata, Campania, Emilia-Romagna. But again, to have a DOCG denomination, we have to be in Teramo province, only selected municipalities in Teramo province. Okay, so now let's go on Google Maps. Okay, sorry, on Google. just to show you the price range of this wine. So I will just focus on the first 8 selected by Google. So for example, here we have the first one that is a Montepulciano, but it's not DOCG. We are talking about a DOP. DOP means denominazione di origine protetta. The price is 12 euro 40 per 1 liter. Then, for example, here we have a Montepulciano DOC. So it's not necessarily grown in the Teramo province, can be grown even in other regions where Montepulciano grapes are allowed to be grown, like Marche or Molise or other parts of Abruzzo region, 8 euro 50. Then here we have another Montepulciano DOC for 8 euro 70. An example, here we have a DOCG, Fratelli Barba Young Montepulciano d'Abruzzo DOCG 2021 for 982 for 9 euro 82. I would go for this one, for example, simply because it's a DOCG. Not always DOCG means that the wine is better, but had been used and had been made by certain selected characteristics. Again, then let's see what else they have for sale. So there is here a Montepulciano d'Abruzzo 2023. It doesn't say if it is a DOC or DOP or IGT. Then we have a Riserva, Montepulciano Riserva for 2019, 9 euro 51. Doesn't say if it's, let's select here. It doesn't say, for example, if it's a DOC or DOCG. Reserva means that had been aged for a certain amount of years, but before putting in the bottle. But again, it depends. It doesn't say anything. For example, here we have another DOCG, and sorry, and the selling price is 54 euro, for example. Then here we see, for example, the stars given by a selected wine. There is this Abervinum, who is people are voting for the quality of the wine. Here has a 4.6. Then we have a 5-star, for example. For a DOC, you see here a DOC has more 5-star, but it depends a lot by many factors. So again, the OCG doesn't mean that it's necessarily better than a DOC. It's simply because it follows more strict regulation to produce that wine. And sometimes, if it's aged, for example, the price can be higher. And probably, anyway, there are reasons why the price is higher. Obviously, it all depends on which our budget is. Here we see that a DOCG 2021 is selling for 9 euro 82, so the same, and is selling 5 times less than this one. So it's always and has, for example, a rate of 4.3, has a lower rate than a DOC wine, Montepulciano wine, that it has 5 stars. But I will never follow myself, for example, the stars given by, I will just by myself and then I will judge by myself, because wine, it's also a pleasure to understand about the wine. So this once I could buy a Montepulciano. I know, for example, a lot of people who are drinking wine, they generally stick to the wine they like. It's harder to push people to try different wines because they might not like. But for example, me, I always recommend to try different type of wines to be able to compare, and then in between you can find your favorite. But it's always nice to have a knowledge about the wines. And in these videos, that's what I want to give you, a kind of reasons why buy this wine, but why not to buy, and so on. Then, anyway, the last thing I want to say is about the prices. Now we are talking about these prices in Italy. So if in Italy I want to go for a decent quality Montepulciano, I know I have to be in between 8 and 12 euro. Then I can find even cheaper, but I'd say that to go to an average quality of Montepulciano in between 8 and 12 euro. Then I can even spend between 20 and 50 if I consider that that wine it's worth the experience. Obviously, I won't recommend a 54 euro wine for a daily drinking. I would drink it for a special occasion. Last thing I want to say is about three different wine markets, like the German one, the Irish, because I lived in Ireland, and the American market. So I'd say that if these are the prices in Italy, I'd say that I can find, for example, a decent Montepulciano d'Abruzzo, DOC or DOCG in these three countries in between 10 and 20 euro. That's what I would spend if I'm in Ireland, if I'm in Germany, or if I'm in the United States. I would spend in between uh, 10 euro and 20 euro. And then if I want to go for a higher quality, I'd say when we go to higher qualities, the price range might be exactly the same in between Italy and United States, for example. So I might pay for a high range Montepulciano 50 euro. I guess I'm gonna pay for a high range of Montepulciano in the United States also around 50 euro. When we are talking about the average, I'd say in Italy is in between 8 and 12. Abroad, Germany, Ireland, and United States, I would say is in between 10 and 20 euro. Okay, my friends, so I hope you enjoy these new videos about the wine. I will make once a week, usually now here on Wednesday, and in the next episode I'm gonna follow in the for another region, and I will select the more in between the most famous and my favorite, and then let's see if they match, and we'll go in and we will find out more about that wine. Okay, my friends, I hope you have enjoyed the video, and I'll see you here on Italy, A Place to Love YouTube channel, to my next video tomorrow here on Italy, A Place to Love YouTube channel. I wish you a lovely day for now. Bye.